Kellogg of Detroit, Michigan came by his love for classic cars at a very early age. And from who else? His dad.
Back in the early 60s when you could buy a car for $50, my dad was out there buying all the backlotters, and he'd fix them up really nice and just make them look like brand new. And he would sell them, and there was like 2 cars a week in our family, all these old 50s cars and 60s cars, and I was amazed by it. It was just so neat, all the different brands and the styles, the colors, the interiors, and this continued on, believe me, this continued on until I got into my 20s, with my father. He just loved these cars. He'd call me up, Bill, I found another car, it's really neat, I bought it, and then we would start working on it together, and so he's getting a little older now, so he's kind of slowed down.
Working with his dad on clunkers got Bill started in a career in auto paint and body.
Well, I worked at GM for 5 years and started out as doing interior and seating bucks and interior engine compartment bucks, and it was the prototype division. And then I just kind of graduated onto the metalworking part of it because I really like to work on the cars, and I thought, well, this will really be something to learn how to do.
So how did Bill make the jump from prototype cars to motorcycle design?
Basically, when I got my shop in Madison Heights about 14 years ago, people started bringing their bikes up to me, and I would do custom paint jobs on them, and they wanted me to modify fenders and lower their bikes down, and I'd see a bike and say, oh yeah, I can do that at my shop. I really didn't have a bike for a while. I just borrowed some friends of mine, and we wanted to go out riding, so when I came up with my buddy Greg, I said, all right, I'm going to dive into it.
Bill literally rescued the bike that would eventually become the Lincoln Zephyr Custom from a fate worse than death.
It just started out basically as a 71 Harley Electra Glide. I got it from my buddy Greg, and he had it for 10 years. I was with him when he bought it at a swap meet, and he quit riding it about, I'd say, 4 years ago, and he said he was going to sell it. And I says, well, geez, I'd really be interested in that. He goes, well, I think I've kind of changed my mind. I think I'm going to take it to the crusher, and I'm going to have it crushed and put it in my living room for art. And we're going to take it down to Harry's over at this junkyard that we know, and he has a crusher there, and he was going to crush it. I said, Greg, don't do that, please. He says, I'll buy the bike from you.
But how do you get from a 71 Harley to a 39 Lincoln Zephyr?
Well, my dad had a 39 Lincoln Zephyr, and it was really a neat car. It was a little coupe. And we bought it, when I bought an old Studebaker truck, my dad saw it sitting there, and he says, that car is really neat. And I says, yeah, it's pretty sharp, Dad, but it's in pretty bad shape. He goes, no, I'm buying that car. He says, I love those old Zephyrs. And I looked at it, and the old teardrop look and the Art Deco look, I fell in love with that. So I fixed my dad's car up and he ended up selling it. So I didn't have anything ready for the show that was coming up this last winter. I told my dad, I says, I'm gonna make a 39 Lincoln Zephyr out of that bike. He says, well, how are you going to do that? And I says, well, I'm just going to try to make it look like one, so that's what I did.
It took about 3.5 months for Bill to complete the transformation from a stock 74-inch shovelhead-powered 4-speed Electra Glide to this stunning show bike.
Someone who had this once before, they did a lot of work to it as far as chroming and like the rear hub in the back that holds the brake. Everything that's all been chromed, the backing plate and everything. So there's a lot of little things on the thing that I didn't have to do, thank goodness, which was nice. Kept it under a budget.
Bill Kellogg's rebuild of a 1971 Electra Glide with a theme inspired by the 1939 Lincoln Zephyr is all about style.
Basically, I tried to get the teardrop look incorporated into the look of the bike. I used a fender light off of an older Lincoln, but it still had the same look. It's off a 36 Lincoln. I used the original 39 Lincoln headlight. I tried to rake the bike down to give it that real sloping look as far as the real raking effect. I put the original tail light in there. I put the little Lincoln emblems on the tanks and tried to incorporate some chroming in there to kind of give the flow to the whole look. I did pretty much a sheet metal setup on it so I can take it all off if I'd like and put it back to the original configuration without having any alterations on the bike, which I really like that.
In the bike's very first show, the Detroit Autorama, its retro look took first place in custom restorations, an award that came as a real surprise to Bill.
I really didn't do it to win anything. I just wanted to be down at the show, and hang out with all my friends. And that's how it really happened, so I never really expected anything, really.
And what kind of reaction does the Zephyr bike get in public?
It's kind of nonchalant, really. They see it, they kind of walk by, and then they kind of walk back and they look at it, and then they stop and they look at it, Then someone else comes over and looks at it, and then they're trying to figure out what it is and where it came from. And the first time I took it up to my hometown here in Royal Oak, and I just backed it in there, and it was really amazing. All these people were just looking at it, asking me questions about it. And there's some beautiful bikes up there, and I wanted something that was going to really stand out. And when people looked at it, they would just stare at it and say, "What is that? Where did it come from? What year is it?" And that's basically what I've achieved with doing this bike, and it gives me a lot of gratification, you know. And sometimes I take it for granted because, you know, I do so much of this stuff. It just doesn't really hit me sometimes until I see other people's reactions, and that's what makes me feel good.
Bill intends to continue designing bikes with car themes. He's even thinking about coming up with a do-it-yourself Lincoln Zephyr kit. But you can bet his projects will continue to have a classic look.
Basically, I like working with the aesthetics of the bike. Mechanical stuff is okay, but I just like making things look different. And as far as theme goes, a lot of people have different cars, kind of match their motorcycle up to their car, what they have. And I think maybe a lot of people would be interested in that because it's really neat. Because there's a lot of things out there that just, they're there for a while and they don't last. But something that makes an impact is what really gives me my inspiration on stuff.